from Senator Tester of Montana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member Toomey. And I would tell you, Senator Toomey, we do agree. I do think we need a nominee for the OCC so we can vote on them and confirm. And since I'm a Democrat, you can put that down in the book, okay? For extreme weather events, I would also say this. This is an interesting year to talk about extreme weather. West of the Mississippi, we're pretty much generally in a drought. East of the Mississippi, generally, we've got more rain than we need. And we've burnt 3 million acres so far in the West, and the fire season has just started. I would hope that folks look at extreme weather events because they're happening with more regularity, and I think it would be it would just be improper for them not to take a look at it because it's getting to be a fact of life every year. Something weird is happening. I've said this before, maybe not in this committee, but I've been on. This will be our 44th harvest. It will be our worst harvest by far, not just a little bit, but by far. If it gets any worse, I won't even take the combine out of the shed. That's how bad it is. I want to thank you all for being here, for your testimony. This is for Ms. McWilliams and for you, Mr. Sue. You're talking about the Community Reinvestment Act. You're talking about you're going to work together to update it. Will each of you commit to consider the unique needs in rural America as you update the CRA?
Absolutely, Senator. That was one of my focal points last time around.
Thank you.
Yes.
And will you also incorporate the needs of Indian country because it's kind of a different world when we're talking rural? Could I get your commitment for that?
Absolutely, and we're also working on how to help Native American minority depository institutions because we know that they're a lifeblood in these communities.
I appreciate that.
Likewise, yes.
Thank you very much. I live in a little town. It's got about 600 people in it. We had a bank called Wells Fargo. They pulled their branches out of a lot of small towns around. We were lucky. We got a community bank that stepped in and took over that portfolio. But the truth is, we all know that capital is pretty important for a small community. And as I said, if we would not have been so lucky, it certainly would have been another death knell in our small community. So as regulators, how will you ensure that financial institutions that you regulate will continue to serve rural and frontier communities, or do you not think that's part of your job?
I'm happy to go first. It is, I would say, the focal point of my job. I consider my job at the FDIC not just to preserve the safety and soundness of our banking system and financial stability and protect depositors and make sure we can resolve banks, but to ensure that community banks can survive, especially in communities where we have 400, 600 people. We have done a number of things to make sure that the regulatory burden is commensurate with the risk profile of those institutions. We have focused on institutions in terms of their size and making sure that our examiners appropriately regulate them as they go to examine them. Quite often, these small banks have a staff of 10, and when we send 3 examiners and the state sends 3, they have 6 people sitting there for 3 weeks looking at their books. So, Senator, I'm more than happy to give you a briefing on all the efforts we have done, but we have focused specifically on capital, liquidity, and regulations.
Appreciate that. And hopefully you're doing that in the cyber realm, too.
Yes.
Is it involved? Thank you. Go ahead. NCUA.
Absolutely. I think we're doing a number of things. First of all, you have to remember that 1 in 2 credit unions are low-income credit unions, and many low-income credit unions are located in rural areas, and we work to support them with grants and other activities. 2, like the FDIC, we also scale our regulations based on size as well as our supervision program. And then finally, one thing that we've been doing very recently is strongly encouraging all credit unions that are eligible to step up and step in and be part of the emergency capital investment program that's being put together by Treasury. We've had about 50 credit unions that have applied for secondary capital. That low dollar capital over a period of time has the potential really to help rural areas as well as urban areas.
And how do you ensure that they have a physical branch there? Some people are locked in the 70s like I am, and I like to walk into a brick and mortar place.
I completely understand that, and I certainly remember as a kid walking to my local branch in order to make some deposit of money. One of the things we do is, again, by working to make sure that we right scale our regulations so that they can continue to have that branch. But also, too, for underserved areas in particular, we have a requirement under the service facilities requirement that you have to have a physical location in the area. So if you want to serve it, you need to have a branch. That is one way we work to do that.
Well, I just want to thank you all for the work you do, and I didn't get into my cyber questions, so I'll probably submit some for the record. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.